down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, Savvy Radio Show you just turned into. And this is my first interview of the year, 2017. I set a goal to have 50 interviews, and there was no other best first interview is one of my original mentors. Yep, I got him live and direct, Oklahoma City mentors. That was an unlikely mentor I found at college, and he's a professor or adjunct professor, doesn't really matter to me, but he was an authority, and I have learned so much from this person. Not only that, I didn't even know that you were in real estate at the time, but I took Intro to Business, and I believe that was a class I took. That's correct. At a community college, which is where all the truth happens in reality. And so please, they can't clap. So please welcome. But it's just like, hello, Joe Ramsey. Is it Joe or Joseph?
Joseph is my given name.
Given name? Okay. But I had to, I think I called you Mr. Ramsey back in the day.
Yeah.
And so you've been around the block a long time. I remember the conversation, and this is going to be awesome because you're not going to remember any of this stuff, but it's going to just start making you chuckle. I remember you are very entrepreneur. You've been very entrepreneur your whole life, I'm assuming.
Yes.
You were into dump trucks.
No.
You managed dump trucks? No.
I was born on Juneteenth, 1946 in Alexandria, Louisiana, and I was raised in a dump truck.
Okay. But I know that you have this hustle about you, and weren't you running dump trucks at one time, financing them?
Yes, I've owned several dump trucks and managed that operation. I feel like I've been in the construction real estate business all my life. It's just an integral part of me and who I am.
All right, first of all, let's just say who you are now. You're a broker. You're a solo broker. Do you have agents under you? What's your makeup now?
I've spent years trying to figure out my job title. Today, I am a real estate practitioner. And for me, that encompasses pretty much everything I do. I'm a broker, a licensed real estate broker. I am
a hustler,
motivated by life. I really enjoy life. It's become a research project for me to learn more about who I am and how I operate.
Well, you have this attitude of positivity on your Facebook page. You're in a suit and tie. Here today, you're in a Hawaiian shirt. I mean, you're all over the place. I mean, I live vicariously through you. What's your age? Is it all right?
I'll be 71 in June.
Okay, so I'm 43, and I have this weird thing that I want to be you. I actually want to teach kids in college, and I know that you just gave back. I know that you've done millions and $1 million deals. I know that you manage millions and millions of dollars worth of property. And why in the world would you give back at a community college?
That is absolutely the strangest thing that turned my perspective around. I enjoy sharing my life experiences with people. As I taught Sunday school one time, and we went on a kids retreat with all these kids that I had in Sunday school, and now I didn't anticipate getting emotional. Imagine that.
You sound so country. You're not even country.
Hardly. I've practiced for years learning how to speak Okie. These kids gave me a gift that became my credo. It was label this person, or write, they had butcher paper up on the wall, and they put my name up there, and they said, write the characteristic that speaks to you. And they said example.
Yeah. You know, Joe, I didn't mean to get emotional with you, but I mean, you really impacted my life. I remember vividly being in your class, and it was so fun and interacting, and just the little business tidbits of found money, recording money, tracking money, being entrepreneur, the case studies. We did a case study on Geek Squad before it was sold, and just your vigor back then, 15, 20 years ago.
Yep.
And being in real estate and just starting, like it was like my first deal, and I was emotional, and I had headaches, and I was dying, and you always were just encouraging to me just to keep going. And it's just crazy where I am today. And so you've been a professor giving back to the community. Tell us about real estate. How'd you get in real estate? And
I need to back up a little bit. The Vietnam War was instrumental in my going into the Air Force, and I spent 4 years in the Air Force, active duty, and then got out, and the Air Force had trained me as a systems programmer, and I got out of the Air Force and went to work for the First National Bank downtown as a systems programmer. And the man that I had worked for, Clyde Riggs, in high school and through college, called me in July of 1972, called me on his phone in his Lincoln Mark III. He was driving to Elk City to one of his projects, and he said, Joe, I need you to come to work for me as my general manager and superintendent, and we need to talk. Can we meet this Saturday at the patio at the Class and Circle? And I said, sure. And I met Clyde, and he says, I need you to come to work for me. I'll double your income, give you a company truck, pay all your insurance. When can you start? I said, man, I'm married. I've got to go home and ask my wife or tell her. I gave my 2-week notice at the bank the next Monday, and I became general manager of 1,304 units.
Wow.
Overnight. I went from systems programmer to
computer
geek nerd, to construction superintendent, project manager.
Were these already constructed? Or these are property?
We were building, so about 900 were around Oklahoma City, and we eventually, over to the next few years, we built over 400 units in Breckenridge and Vail in Colorado.
And so these are all just like residential units, like
they're
apartments?
Condos. They're all, everything we built in Breckenridge or in Colorado, they were all condominiums. And we were selling them individually. And with the gas crunch in the mid-'70s, we ended up going to auction with most of our inventory.
Wow! So you've been through some cycles.
Oh, buddy, and and it was at that time, the guy I was working for, Clyde, in 1974, 75, sometime in there, when we moved pretty much most of our operations back to Oklahoma City, I was building homes in Westbury and the Pines and another addition. Anyway, he says, Joe, you ought to go get your real estate license. So in 1976, I went and got my real estate license.
Now, at this time, you're GC in the construction. You're managing the construction. Are you leasing
Correct.
them out or selling them as well? Or?
Yeah. Oh,
so you're
everything.
Turnkey
I'm doing
operation.
everything.
Okay. So you're this guy's main man.
Yeah.
Running this whole construction, selling them.
Manage everything.
Okay. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you need your license by this time.
Yeah. Didn't, because we owned. And at the time, I wasn't interested in being my own boss, okay? And by the end, I got my real estate license in 76, and by the end of 76, the housing market had really turned again down. And he and I visited, and he really didn't have anything else going on. And I said, well, I'm going to go out here and start my own business. I know how to carry a hammer and a nail belt, and I can do all that. What I didn't count on was the things that happen in the office, the time and energy spent in doing the estimating, the time and energy spent in doing the administration, seeing that all the checks get written, seeing that bookkeeping gets done, all the taxes get paid. I was unaware. So at that point in time, when I started my own first Joe Ramsey construction company,
Cool.
Yeah, I found I was educated by fire, by doing it. And I did that for a number of years. Then I decided that I wanted to do architectural drafting. And so I went back to school, OSU Tech here in Oklahoma City. And I began taking the architectural drafting school courses and coursework. And I don't recall how I began that business. I began an architectural drafting business in 1980, 81. And as I was going to school, I was doing sub work. We still used parallel bars and pencils with lead and electric erasers and all that stuff.
Even though you were computer savvy.
Even though I was computer savvy. And I had a handful of contractors that I was working for in the early 80s, and my business grew. I had grown it to 3 full-time drafters.
Like new construction draft, like architectural?
Anything architects did not want to do the lines, literally draw the lines for, we would subcontract it as the drafts person. Okay. I was not licensed, didn't pretend to be. I was just subcontracting.
Doing the labor.
Yeah. And so I grew my little business into 3 full-time drafters besides myself.
Cool.
And a bookkeeper and a receptionist. And that all grew and grew and grew. In 1985, in October, I had $6 million in projects on the boards that we were working on. Now, that's the construction project value, not our part.
Sure.
And over a 2-week time period, it all blew up. It all quit. And
do you know why?
Yeah.
Well, enlighten us.
The contractors were going to jail.
Oh, well, okay.
So I did manage to get a final payment out of one of them, and but I did end up.
So what did they just overbuilt and ran out of money?
They were doing some things like having in-house appraisers.
Oh, so it's like
in-house mortgage brokers and turning a blind eye to the truth. And so they got caught. And I closed my office. One of the contractors that I had been working for called me and says, "Hey, I've been hired to manage this guy's office, and he's a residential broker, and I know you've got your real estate license. Why don't you come to work with me?"
Huh.
And I showed up at their office. It was Dubstone Realtors, Southside.
Cool.
Our office at that time was at 74th and Penn. I'll never forget it. And I showed up. I hung my license over there and started selling houses and loved it. Wow. It was my first commissioned sales.
So no ceiling, just performance.
Just do.
So this is when
1985.
So wasn't the market crashing?
Oh, yeah.
Like the Penn.
The only owners in town that had something for sale was the FDIC or the RTC. And I began, oh, my goodness. I had
This is like when Penn Square went down, and
this was the aftermath of Penn Square. It took 2 to 3 years to really hit Oklahoma City, and so what I did, to back up a little bit, when I was 6 years old, my father was told by my mother to sell the dump trucks, and he did, and he bought a little mom and pop grocery store out in Choctaw, and I was raised in that grocery store, and I never met a stranger. So cold calling for me is not an issue.
Sure.
It's just friends I haven't met yet. And so
good attitude.
So I began, these guys, I would sit through sales meetings and go, I got all that. I knew, it just gave me some parameters within which to do what I was natural at. So
just loving people, turning into real estate.
Yeah. And just go and meet somebody.
So this is like 40 years ago or 30-something years ago.
Hadn't done the math, but probably so.
Okay, so, all right, I don't mean to cut you short, but we got to get some juices in here.
Okay.
So when did you become a real estate investor? So you were seeing a lot of transactions, and you saw the death.
I got to back out of that. My wife and her mother bought our first house at 1419 Genesee, which is at Southeast 15th, just east of Eastern, over the hill a little bit. They paid $4,000 for it. Little 2-bedroom house, no central heat and air, had to have window units and I don't remember what the heat was, but that was my start.
And so this is your first rental property?
I wish. No.
Oh, you lived there?
Yeah, we lived there. It was tough. Hamilton Courts was still burning things occasionally. And anyway, I put up, as an example, in that neighborhood, I put up a gate that closed my driveway, and because I had 2 chow dogs and I didn't want them getting out. Someone stole both panels of my gate one night. Anyway,
so you were in the hood.
So I was in the hood, and yet we lived there for some length of time, and then when I went to work for Clyde, we began looking up, and I found a house at Northwest 46th Circle, and somewhere just west of Meridian and 46th. Then we bought that house on the VA GI Bill, or VA qualifier, and I'll never forget, Jim Ferris was the realtor, and he earned a handsome $100 for closing that transaction. And so that was our second home. And then after that, I bought a home on Southwest 37th, just west of I-44. It's the today it's a bright orange home. And I lived there for a number of years and sold it to a brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And then from there, I moved into Southgate, I believe is the addition. Bought another home down there, moved up, and still was not buying investment properties.
So you were just moving.
Just moving. But I'm learning all this information about buying and selling homes. It was 88 before I bought another home. From 85 to 88, I moved up again, bought another home, Northwest, and the house on 43rd Circle, and lived there for, till 2005. And loved it, loved the neighborhood, found out more about...
Is this Mayfair area?
Yes.
Okay, that's when I met you.
East of Mayfair. And that's where I was living when we met. But that's when I began looking for investment properties.
And then there was a lot of people that would approach you, other out-of-state investors. You were managing tons of units. Tell us about that.
I made in 1985, when I closed my architectural drafting business, I made a conscious decision when I was selling homes that I would be a broker primarily, and not get involved in the ownership side of real estate. I saw it as a conflict of interest. So for me, that stayed. I kept that focus until 1993 when I started my own brokerage firm, and then I began seeing the benefit of ownership as well as just being a broker. Now I had to spend some time to deal with the conflict of interest that I saw or perceived between ownership and brokerage.
Like being an agent?
Yeah. Because if I'm representing you,
right,
then in my heart, I have to be your best realtor ever.
Sure. And you're getting a percentage of that.
Well, I get paid to be that person. And so me having my own interests in front of you is a conflict of interest. So I eventually discovered that I can serve you as my customer, and yet occasionally I can find a deal that I can pursue on my own without having any conflicts. I can speak to one wonderful example that I found this house and the family wanted it sold right away. It was in not quite a complete inheritance. Her husband had passed away. She was well taken care of. She wanted to sell the family home, and I listed it for sale. I did the comps and had it at a market value and all that. I had it listed for 6 months, and she came to me and said, "Joe, what can I do? I've got to sell this house." I said, "Let me discount the listing price over time, and let's see what happens." And I did that over time, and still no action, nothing. And I said, "Look, I'll give you $20,000 for this house if you want me to buy it. I will buy it for that."
What'd you list it for?
25.
Big spender.
Yeah. So she said, "Okay, I'll do the deal." And I said, "Now here's the catch."
Pay him the commission?
No. I get no commission, and you carry the paper, and I don't want to put any money down. She went for it, and I put it on a 2-year balloon.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you some of the details.
Yeah, now we're getting into the juice.
And she carried the paper, and I told her, I said, first thing I'm going to do is rehab it, and the first or second thing I'm going to do is go to my banker and see what he'll do. And she said, okay. Gave me the keys. We closed. She carried the paper. I went to my banker, and he appraised the property for $108,000. That's not true. He appraised it first time at $109,000.
Wow.
And we proceeded from there. He loaned about 70% on that number. And
70,000.
Yeah, and we and at this time I've got a partner, and we went ahead and renovated the house. The house was about 1,500 square feet. It had an original footprint of about 900 square feet. It was originally a 2-bedroom with 1 bath. We were able to make some changes. They had added on enough to make it up to the 1,500, whatever that was, the 600-foot addition on the back. And all well done, well constructed, but that back part was all one room. So we made a hallway off of the back door back there, and we added a bedroom. We built walls and sheetrock and heat and aired it and the whole 9 yards. And off of the original master bedroom had been a shower and a lavatory. Nope, cancel. Shower and a washer and dryer in that bath off of the master. And we moved the washer and dryer out of there, put it in that big room, and then we added a toilet and a lavatory in there where the washer and dryer had been. We closed off 4 doors in the original footprint that helped the traffic pattern in the home. and we completely refinished the floors.
Right.
Scraped and painted all of the outdoors, all the outside, and the second appraisal came in at 108, and then we sold the house on an owner carry for 15 years. Now we've got a loan. We went to the banker and got permission to do an owner carry. The buyer paid us $10,000 down.
Cool.
And makes a payment every month that's more than enough to make our payment to the banker.
So it's creative financing.
Creative financing.
So it was a wraparound mortgage because you had the financing in place.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you had the creative financing when you locked the deal down.
Right.
And then didn't have any money.
We paid her off just as soon as we did the first
Refi.
loan with the bank. Yes.
Then they're in first position. She's out.
Yeah.
And then you turn around and then carry the spread, the arbitrage in between there, and you did all the work on the front end.
Yep.
What was that rehab? Was it 10,000?
30.
30 to rehab.
We spent about $30,000 on the
So you had $20,000 of your own,
right?
But not your own because you pulled all that equity out.
Well, it's ours, but it's borrowed money, so it's, as I understand it, it's non-taxable.
Of course, no borrowed money. So what's your passion for banks now? We reconnected last week, and you're talking about a bank, and you're all excited about it. How is your investing now, or are you managing for other people? Are you seeking and buying? What I know you were in apartments for a while. Tell us some other deals, like a really good deal.
Well,
I know you have a lot of them, but let's just get to one here.
I just bought a house in Spencer for one of my investors. We bought it for 40. It appraised at 82. I mean, he's got 40 grand equity. Instant. And what I've learned is that this equity that we talk about in the real estate business is not always
accessible,
non-performing. It's not always non-performing.
I call it fake equity.
Or it's not always fake equity. What we do with it today, what I do with it, is if I find a project like a big office building that I want to buy,
sure,
I tend to enjoy or gravitate towards the industrial building complexes.
So you know Malcolm.
Oh, I know Malcolm. And so if I want to do that, I can, for my down payment, I can do second mortgages on my equity.
With the bank?
Yeah. One of the most creative transactions I've had.
Yeah, there we go. Come on, let's get some juice going. We're 27 minutes into this deal. Let's get some.
Oh man,
I know you like slow draw here, buddy.
I've got these.
My fans California, out here. I don't have any fans anymore. They got shot down.
I got these California goobers that showed up in town. And they want to buy hundreds and hundreds of homes. Well, they've got me.
I want to buy hundreds and hundreds of
homes.
But
they seem to have the money, and so
who says I don't?
I did.
You gave me a banker's name. He has all the money. I just signed the docs.
So I start beating the bushes, and all my buddies, my realtor buddies and friends and everybody I know, trying to find bundles of properties that we can put together. And we end up with 750 homes, bundles of homes that we can package to these guys. Well, when
was this?
This is 4 years ago.
Okay.
And so these guys, we put
were they hedge fund guys?
REIT.
Okay.
They were REIT and a REIT. And we put all these homes together. We sit down with them. They pick, I believe it was 50 homes for their first bundle. We get them all under contract. They've got hard money done. 2 weeks prior to closing, they wanted, part of the story is they wanted to extract properties, but they wanted to do it at the high,
the house was valued
evaluation. And we said, no, we're going to evaluate each house on the percentage of rent that it generates. That's how we priced it.
Income producing.
Yeah. And so 2 weeks before closing, they came to us and said, "No, we're out."
So you did all this work.
Did all that work. So
get all those individual houses under contract.
And Ben and I sit and look at each other and go, "What just happened?"
Did you like get some earnest money?
No. Oh, we had $100,000 hard, except they had the financing contingency and got to walk. So anyway, so we're looking at each other and going, "What do we do now?" Well,
did you have to refund that $100,000?
Yeah, return that to them, because in my world, I'm also a mediator and a mediator trainer, and the mediations I've seen, it's a whole lot easier on everyone involved if you just give the earnest money back.
Sure.
If there's a conflict. Anyway, so we looked at each other and says, "What are we going to do now? We got all this information." Well, we went to the people that had provided the bundles of properties, Robert being one.
Elder?
And we said, "Robert, we've got all these properties, and yet we don't know what to do with them." He said, "Well, do you have any I can buy?" We said, "Well, we got this little bundle over here with a bank in Shawnee, I believe, and 17 houses. You want to buy them?" "Yeah, I'll buy them," he says. So we get him under contract on these 17.
With financing already in place.
No, hold on. That are in foreclosure.
Okay.
I mean, the bank has already filed the foreclosure proceedings.
So this bank had 17 houses.
No. The seller still had possession.
Okay.
And we go to the seller who had a broker involved.
Like a short sale?
No. It was sort of, kind of.
Okay.
But not really. So what we ended up doing was we got Robert as a buyer. We go to this bank and negotiate with them that they get a new loan with Robert as the buyer on all 17. And his equity is a second on some other properties. Okay?
Yeah, he's cool with that.
That he does for them.
Cross-collateralization.
Yeah. And so we closed those 17 houses with Robert. The other broker got paid his commission. We got paid our commission. Robert had 17 new properties with new financing that he could live with. And the seller left closing with $6,500.
And no bad
credit or reporting or anything. No foreclosure proceedings against him.
So how'd you find that deal? Like, how'd you find those 17 units?
By talking to the other broker. I put the word out in the brokerage community that I was looking for bundles of houses.
And is that still happening today?
What's that?
Bundles of houses?
Yeah. Oh, we just bought 12 in a bundle from Dan the Man.
Dan the Man.
He's a hoot. And we closed them. Now, we've got 2 we're still working on, but we'll close them.
So what's your day like now? You work with just investors only? Are you buying for yourself? I'm
a real estate practitioner.
Got it.
Which gives me a range of folks that I can work. If I don't mind, I want to be able to sit down with anyone that crosses my path and discuss real estate with them and how it's personal to them.
Okay. So how did you learn finance? Using leverage, being creative?
Asking.
Like who?
When Ben and I partnered up, we looked at each other and said, "Okay, what do we do?" And we started in Clinton, Oklahoma, knocking doors and saying, "Hey, my name's Joe Ramsey. How you like me so far?" Almost literally getting to knocking doors, little
just
banks.
Like getting with banks and
started in Clinton, Oklahoma, working our way back toward the city. And we ran across some folks that had some RE. We were looking specifically. Our question was, do you have any REOs that we can sell for you or buy?
So you just call them up, knock on the door, either or.
No, we didn't call them. That was a key ingredient for us. We were standing in front of their desk, introducing ourselves, handing out our business cards, and getting to know those people, getting them to know us visually.
No, that's how a lot of people get frustrated with me, like, man, how do you get all these deals? Especially REOs from banks directly,
right?
Bypassing that whole process,
right.
And that's based on a relationship.
The house
picking up the phone saying, "Hey, hi, my name's Steven. I'm a real estate investor. Do you have any REOs?"
Yeah,
and know the language,
right? And be another key ingredient for you, the way you operate, is be ready to go sign the contract.
Sure,
to do what's necessary. As the
even
next
if you
step.
don't have financing,
it doesn't matter.
You always sign a contract.
Absolutely, get it,
get it signed.
Get control of the property.
Yes.
Another example, I'm midst of renovation of that house I talked about. We appraised for 108 and did the seller carry on.
Right.
I'm in the middle of doing that REO or rehab, and a realtor friend of mine from Yukon calls and says, "Joe, do you know anyone that can buy a house?" I said, "That's what I do." I said, "Where is it?" Well, it was 2 blocks from the house I was working on. And she said, "It's in a inheritance. It's already been closed. It's not quite complete. The probate's not quite complete, but it will close, meaning the probate will close." And I said, "Well, let me go look at it." And it was a real dump. And it was garage apartment. And I told the guy, I said, "Dude, you're behind almost $800 in taxes. You need to just let it go." He says, "But isn't it worth anything?" And I said, "Look, I'll give you $10,000 for it, and take the taxes out of that is what I'll pay you for it." $9,200. So he hummed and hawed around, tried to negotiate me up, and I said, "Look, I don't want the house. I don't want the property. No." I bought it a little over 2 or 3 years. Must have been 3 years ago, maybe 2, and I sold it last month for $30,000.
In Yukon?
No.
Oh,
Oklahoma City.
Okay. So how are you getting deals now? Is it your network? Is it
my network? I have people. I hope there's not an area code 601 person out there, because I don't know where that is. But I never know who's going to call me.
I mean, you don't have a website. You're barely on Facebook.
Barely, yeah.
And you're 70-something years old. You're
70 years old.
And you're active in real estate. Where are you getting these deals?
I think God just gives me enough to.
Well, that's not a good answer.
Well,
I mean, that's just the cliche.
Oh, no, it's.
Hey, God, God, that.
I never know who is going to call me. I
believe in Jesus. Don't get me wrong.
I've got over 5. I almost exaggerated too much. I've got over 4,500 contacts in my phone.
Okay.
I live and breathe by the people I meet and know, and everywhere I go, my name's Joe Ramsey. How you like me so far?
Okay, so let's just say, for example, we reconnected. I haven't seen you in 10 years.
Uh-huh.
I mean, or more. I'm not sure. I'm at Panera Bread. You were at Panera Bread. We connect. The first thing out of your mouth was, "Hey, have you heard about this bank?"
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, "Yes, I know that bank, but I haven't had a chance to get over to that bank. They're on my list. I'm going to get over there." And so then you create an opportunity there. Is what I'm saying is that you call that banker, say, "Hey, I got some successful real estate investors that are buying, and we are buying," and then you connect us to him. He feels, "Wow, Joe Ramsey."
I quadrupled his loan portfolio.
Right. So let's just say
year.
There was 3 investors that I was having lunch with, me, myself, and 2 other guys. Let's just say we qualify for $300,000. So there's $1 million at the table. Okay. And so you just increase this guy's portfolio, his book of business of $1 million.
Right.
Is he going to think of Joe Ramsey?
Yeah, he does.
Right.
I promise you he does.
So when this banker that I'll be meeting shortly, he will come across a REO. He will come across an investor going down. He'll come across an investor that needs to sell, and he's going to consider you. I would assume, because you put us together with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a tip right there, ladies and gentlemen. If you made it this far, 39 minutes and 40 seconds, it's, I guess, just being active.
My partner has a saying, if someone asks, the answer is always, yes, please. Now, that does not fit.
So you've been doing real estate investing for 30-something years, and you're telling me today that the millions of dollars of transactions, bulk of homes, international buyers that you're representing around the world is all because, hi, I'm Joe Ramsey, nice to meet you?
No. I try to do it in a way that they will never forget who I am. I play racquetball. I'm 70 years old. I'm playing racquetball last night, and the guy goes, Joe, you haven't called me about any of the properties I want. They all know what I do.
Right. Okay, so they all know what you do. Why in the world are you wearing a tuxedo on your Facebook page?
I'm at my granddaughter's wedding last December.
Okay, that's just a temporal photo?
Oh, I was expected, my wife informed me that was going to be the dress of the day.
Okay, so you have this little swagger about you, okay? So you have this tuxedo. Today you're in a flowery shirt. You got a little kid phone case on your phone. Is there a specific swagger, style? I mean, you're a broker.
Yeah, and?
I'm just saying.
I think I came across something that kind of sums it up for me. And I don't know, it strikes a chord with me.
Oh, good. You took notes and wrote them out?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's this thing that I've heard guys say about a motorcycle. Ride it like you stole it. That rings a bell for me.
Okay.
Man, I get to go this way. My best man died Sunday.
So
I'm not going to go. Last time I checked, I'm not going this way again.
Right. So you're all in to the 10th degree. So what advice would you give to someone, maybe someone tuned in and they're new to real estate investing? What advice would you give them?
Do you know who your neighbor is? And if you don't, go find out who they are. Ask them if they're ready to sell their house.
And you be the potential buyer?
And then go find I learned from an investor of mine. She had 7 or 10 houses, I don't recall. She carried a 1-page contract folded up in that size in her purse, quarter page in her purse everywhere she went. Yeah. It's a contract, and it just, all you had to do was fill in the blanks. Had about 6 blanks. Fill in the blanks, property address, date, sign it, seller sign it, and you buy a property. That's what I closed 10 of 12 houses in the last 45 days on a 1-page contract.
I mean, I have a 1-page contract in my truck. I mean, I learned my lesson the hard way.
And if you don't ask, you don't get. Our combined knowledge in this business is immense, and as long as I don't try to do some subversive maneuver, if everything is transparent and above board, I'm fine. It's when I step out of that world and try to do some, so I just don't do it.
All right. So a lot of people, they're into real estate maybe to be millionaires or freedom. You're 70-something years old, 71, you said 70?
In June.
June. Well, happy birthday. Yeah. Was your original goal, is real estate to fund your retirement? I mean, it looks like you're never going to retire, but like for your living expenses, was that in a calculation in your mind? Is that?
Yeah, I enjoy eating.
We all do.
I really do, and I'm blessed, man. This
is the career that you've always wanted.
I didn't know I wanted this. I did not roll out of bed one day in the Air Force and go, oh, I think I'll be a real estate mogul. That was not my heart's desire. Looking back, real estate has provided me a college education, a master's in college education, will provide my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren a life that...
Like you're talking about from your units that you own?
Yeah. We try to get people, that my investors, the way I sit down with them today, I show them if they will buy a house today and they've got a child that's 1 to 6 years old, whatever.
5.
By the time that child gets ready to go to college, they can use that piece of property to fund their college education for that child. Just one house.
Sure.
And for each child, we try to get them to buy one house more.
So do you educate people that have never been in real estate before?
Absolutely.
So you're constantly just turning them over to real estate. Say they have money in the market.
When I show them the numbers in comparison to what anyone else in the world is going to show them, my partner's son and he are partners in their homes. They have 3 homes. Return on investment was 26.9% for 2016.
Just 3 units?
Just 3 units.
Are they in the hood?
Nope.
Will they put a lot of money down or something?
Nope. In fact, they got all their money back.
Yeah, that's my best investment.
It's the same deal. We get them under contract, and just use round numbers here. I'll get them under contract for 20, 30, 40,000, whatever it is. We know that they're going to appraise for more.
Absolutely. No money down.
No money down. And then we go to the banker and borrow 65 or 75% of the appraised
ARV.
value. And the way we do it is we put the money in one account. Our investors put up $50,000 each to start an account.
You mentioned that. What does that mean exactly? Like to be you as a client?
To be liquid. We want to show them how this process works. We have them put up the $50,000. We go buy a house. We borrow money against the house and put the money back.
Right.
In that account.
So you use that cash at $50,000 as a line of credit per se.
Yep.
For acquisition.
Exactly.
So you acquire the asset, and then it's already basically debt free. So it's no brainer for a bank to loan that money. Basically, it's a no money down deal, temporal financing, and that $50,000 in the bank looks good on a balance sheet.
Right.
That we have this liquid asset hedged against.
And these poor guys they're looking at ways to invest that money that will return them something more than 5 to 14%.
Sure. So I can see you you were a professor in college. You love to educate and help people. Do you do the same process with borrowing money? Do you use private money at all? Like people that have like deep pockets, or they're not getting the return in the stock market and they're like, hey, I got a couple $100,000, Joe. I want to move it.
Yes. Short answer, yes.
And you go through the same process, like to show them the return, show them the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter whether it's what we've discovered. It doesn't. What I started to say was, it doesn't matter whether it's residential real estate, industrial real estate, office,
something that you get an asset.
It doesn't matter as long as it's got a cash flow, and we can examine the cash flow portion of the asset. Then we can sit down and show an investor what the return's going to be about.
How many investors do you work with now, and like tell me what a typical day is?
Oh my goodness. 1, 2, off the top of my head, 12 to 15 investors. I've usually got 2 that are wanting to come on board at any given time. So, I've got 12 to 15.
And
investors.
This is the lifestyle that you like, kind of more of an intimate relationship with this investor, and you're almost giving him a mentor ship.
Right.
You know what's so interesting is like I met you, I knew you were in real estate. I knew a couple times that you were doing like massive deals, like you had huge apartment deals that you're going on, and we've never done a deal together. You know, it's nothing negative or wrong.
No, no.
It's just cool that you've built your empire on your side, and I've built mine on my side, and we've never. And those type of deals I used to run into, and now I'm into commercial, and that's what you were in when I met you. I'm like, I'm never gonna. This guy's like on my league. He's in like commercial, and I'm in.
Never fail to do what is right in front of you.
I just think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, all right. So it's been a great life. Where's the next 10 years go from here? I know it's a big question. Have you, your brokerage, have you ever passing it on? Do you want to sell your brokerage?
Don't know. Yeah, I've looked at moving my brokerage to Florida.
Okay. That's my favorite spot.
I'm prone to walk the beach at St. Pete's Beach, and I enjoy that. And one day I had walked the beach. It got close to lunchtime, and I went up to one of the sandwich bars there on the beach. And I sit down at the bar, and I'm chowing down on lunch, and I'm noticing this guy next to me is working numbers on a piece of paper. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm trying to buy this property." I said, "Where at?" And he said, "Well, it's a beachfront. It's about 3 doors down here on the beach." I said, "Really? What do you do?" He said, "Oh, I buy one of these a year, and that's about it." So you asked me what my long-term goals are?
Yeah.
I want to be that guy.
Let me tell you something. I actually have been down there looking just for Airbnb properties and learning all kinds of new stuff in a different market. And I don't think there's enough aggressive real estate agents out there.
There aren't.
I don't think they're entrepreneurial. I think that they're doopy-doopy-doo. They're just hanging out. Hey, I got $1 million property. Let me list it.
Yeah. there's
no hustle. I don't see no. I mean, I even went down there and put out some bandit signs, and I got calls. I mean, it's just how hard is it to hustle?
It is.
So hopefully that that will be your 10-year goal from there. That I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
You might as well enjoy life.
With the experience I have, I don't believe. I did a project for Willie Nelson one time.
Oh, really?
How about that?
Sounds fun.
But in my drafting business. And an architect called me and said, we're on, and at some point in time it may come back to me, but on Galveston Island, they were building this project for Willie Nelson. I don't believe there's a project in the world that I couldn't write up on a one-page contract and get somebody's interest. I think I can do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, Joe. I mean, I would love, we want to know more about you. I'm excited that you're speaking at the Investor Breakfast at the end of the month on February 28th. If you're in Oklahoma City at 8 a.m., you got to meet Joe in person. Joe, to this day, I teach children that basic principle that has impacted my life. There's a thing called found money. And I love that principle. And what that principle is that get an envelope or a brown sack and your money's just going to fall in your face. And people wonder, they don't have enough money. They can't invest things. And they're not trained to realize that money is there. There's found money. You might find $1 on the ground.
Unexpected income.
I call it found money. You call it unexpected income. I learned that principle for you.
There's actually a little book out there that was published eons ago titled Unexpected Income.
Okay,
how to have it.
Yeah, and it's just amazing. I even do it when I take inventory. I'm about to go to a garage sale. I'm gonna sell my stuff. I go to the flea market. I'm gonna sell stuff, or when I look I look at my bookshelf, how much money is sitting on that bookshelf that I could use that money to go buy an asset that produces income.
Right.
You changed my life forever.
Yay.
So anyway, Joe, I really appreciate your time. Are you taking any more calls? You want to give your phone number out?
Sure. My name's Joe Ramsey. How you like me so far? My number's 236-4111.
What people around the world listen to this deal?
Oh,
what's
cool.
your area code?
405. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Say the number again, old school.
405-236-4111.
All right. And how about an email? Because
Joe, real simple. Joe Ramsey sold at att.net.
Okay, Joe Ramsey sold at att.net.
And it's not Joe Ramsey's old.
Sold.
Sold.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming in.
You bet.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.